Ladies and gentlemen that are on the field, if you please would take your seats. I realize that we have people still in line. We will do our very best to give them time to get in, but I do have to start this meeting, so if you would please take your seats.
Tell them we're going to do the preliminaries, Claire. That'll
Yeah.
ease them up.
Yeah, we have a lot of preliminary information that we can take the time to go through. It will give people that are still in line time to get in. They still should be able to hear the discussion, and I will try to hold off any vote until they are all in. But you've been very patient. We do have to meet certain things, and so we do need to open the meeting. So I am going to open, first of all, let me explain. There are actually two separate meetings today. We have a special town meeting, and if you look in your booklet, that has 3 articles. We will recess that meeting, and then I will open the special town meeting. That meeting has 1 article, and that is the lengthy zoning article. I know that we have a lot of people who are attending today for the very first time. I have been going to town meeting for well over 50 years, and I still get confused. So I am going to try my very best to handle this meeting so that you do understand what we are doing when we're doing it. So right now, I am going to open the special town meeting, which I have to do because the other one falls inside it. So the town clerk has certified to me that the warrant for this meeting has been properly and legally posted so that we can take up the first meeting because the warrant has been legally posted and we can act on it. So I am going to open the first meeting, and then I am going to go through and try to explain what the procedures will be, and then I will recess that first meeting, and then I will open the second meeting. So what I will do is I will ask you to please stand, and we have a flag. If you turn and face the flag, I will ask you to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. As I said, the moderator and the town clerk are both present. The warrant has been legally posted, and there is a sufficient quorum present. If you look around, we have sufficient quorum. So I now will declare this meeting to order. I want to take a moment and ask you to have a moment of silence for several people who have given their time and effort to the town who have recently passed away. Linda Taylor taught physical education at Wareham High School for 12 years. She was responsible for developing the girls' field hockey program and was the girls' varsity coach. Dennis D'Amata. I think there isn't anybody in town that doesn't remember Dennis. Dennis served as a member of the Wareham Police Department from 1985 until 2010, and he worked as a special police officer after his retirement until he fell ill. Dennis was also a selectman for the town of Wareham from 1998 until 2003. Not having done all of that, he still felt he should continue serving the town. And Dennis worked as a housing inspector for the town until he just recently passed. Ted Weigan. Ted Weigan goes back quite a few years, but Ted was a presence in the town of Wareham, and if you went through Main Street at all, you would have seen Ted and you would have known Ted. The majority of Ted Weigan's years, the first 20 years, he was in the service, and he was stationed at Otis Air Base. And during that time, he joined the Wareham Police Department part-time. Upon his retirement from the Air Force, he joined the Wareham Police Department full-time and retired from the police department in 1983 with over 20 years of service. Walter Pierce. For over 50 years, Walter Pierce was a member of the town of Wareham Fire Department, which back then the town did have its own fire department. And then later he joined the Wareham Fire District Fire Department and was on their dive squad before retiring in 2003. Melissa Bourne. Melissa worked in the town hall. I think she worked in almost every office that there was. Her last job was as the assistant town accountant. Sarah Woods. Sarah Woods was a town selectman from 1986 until 1993 and just recently passed away this past January. David Wallstrom. David joined the Wareham Fire Department in 1979. Then he left the fire department to join the Marine Corps, and when he returned, he went back to becoming a firefighter, first on the Joint Base Cape Cod Fire Department, and then I believe he was on onset for a while, and then the Wareham Fire Department until 2004, and he just recently passed away. If we could just have a moment of silence, please. We appreciate these people for what they've done for the town and their willingness to step up to the plate and serve all of us and all of you that are here today. They were diligent town workers and loved what they were doing and were willing to give their time. And I want to thank you all for being here today. I am truly thrilled that we have this kind of response. And I want to thank you for coming out and thank the Lord that it's a good day.
Amen.
So I want to introduce, to my left is Michelle Bissonette, our town clerk, the chairman of our Board of Selectmen, Peter Teitelbaum. To my right is town council, Attorney Bowen. And to the far right is Mr. Bernie Pigeon, who is chairman of the Wareham Finance Committee. Our town administrator is not here today. He has a medical issue in his family. He would give anything to be here, but we said to him, your family comes first. So our hearts are with Derek and his family, and I know he is here in spirit. So you may take a seat. So town meeting is a legislative body of the town. And like any legislature, it does have rules. Sometimes they're a little confusing. We'll try to keep it simple for you. It's my job to try to keep everything moving and to listen to both sides, to have a fair town meeting, and I will do my very best. But town meeting does need some rules. So the duties of the moderator, not specifically provided by law, and there are several laws that oversee my position and give me certain duties. If they're not covered by state law, they're determined by the rules contained in the 75th anniversary edition of Robert's Rules of Order, Town Meeting Time, which is a book that is the moderator's Bible, by tradition, and this town meeting goes back to 1739, so there's a lot of tradition. And those rules that are set forth by the moderator. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 15, whenever there's two-thirds vote is required by statute, a vote may be declared by the moderator without a count and recorded as such by the clerk upon such a declaration. Provided, however, that if 7 people doubt the vote and stand, then we will take a hand count. This is in accordance with Article 12 of the October 27, 2003 town meeting, and it was approved by Attorney General on November 21st, 2003. The warrant that you have in your hands, that booklet that you're holding, which was duly posted in every single precinct, and it was posted on the town website, it was posted on public bulletin boards. That is our agenda today for this meeting. Those are the only items that we can discuss and talk about. There is nothing else that can be brought forward to this town meeting. That is our agenda, and that's what we'll be discussing. Now, town meeting does not come to an end until all of the agenda items have been decided, either by a positive vote, a negative vote, or no action. The rules that we're going to use today are the rules that we use for every single town meeting that I have moderated, and I believe my 2 predecessors. There's some very good rules that they passed on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for a motion. So you have your article. I will ask the finance chairman to make a motion for that article, and then I will ask someone for a second. Listen carefully to that motion. Sometimes the motion is not exactly as the warrant article, and there's a reason for that. When a warrant article is submitted, it is submitted to be on a little bit on the broad side so that you can discuss it. If it was very definitive, it would limit what we could discuss and how we could talk about it. So sometimes the motion might be a little different in that in your warrant article, it might not have a dollar amount. I don't think we have anything today with that, but in the motion, you would put that dollar amount so that you know what you're spending. So just be very careful and listen to the motion, because usually we have it up on the screen. It was near impossible to have a screen out here that everybody could read or see. I understand that there may be a big Teletron coming for the field, and if so, then it would make it a lot simpler if we had a meeting outside. After I have the second, I am going to ask the proponent to speak to the article, and they will explain to you what the article is about. Generally, we allow the proponent to have 5 minutes. Because the zoning article is very complicated, I may allow, if the proponent wishes, a few extra minutes. I'm not going to allow him an hour. I'm not going to allow him a half hour. I'm not going to allow him 20 minutes. I think there's been enough publicity on it, but I do want to give the proponent time to explain it to you. So be patient. After the proponent speaks and makes his comments or her comments, I will then go to the Board of Selectmen and ask for their vote, because they have to have a vote on every article. And then I will go to the Finance Committee Chairman for the vote and the recommendation from the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee is responsible for coming to town meeting and telling you whether or not this is appropriate, can be funded, and whether or not, after all the discussions that they have with the proponents and interviewing whoever brings the article forward, they'll discuss it, and then they will make a recommendation to you as a body. After that, debate will be open. We have 3 microphones. This one is going to be the one to my left. There's one in the center, and there's one on the right. If you wish to speak, you'll need to go to the microphone. You will need to state your name, and then you will have 2 minutes for your opinion. Please be sure to clearly state your name. Understand that whatever remarks you make are limited to the content of what is in the article. You stand to say, "Madam Moderator, I wish to speak in favor," and why. Or, "Madam Moderator, I wish to speak in opposition," and why. If you have a question, all questions go through the moderator. There is no dialogue between two people back and forth. Once you ask your question, I will ask if there is anyone who wishes to answer your question. And again, I want to stress, there's no dialogue back and forth. Everyone, and I want you to listen to this, must be civil and respectful. We all have different opinions. We all have our own thoughts and ideas of how we feel. I'm going to share a little secret with you. My husband and I attended for town meeting for many, many years. He would vote yes, I would vote no. I would vote no, he would vote yes. Someone came up to us after one of the meetings and said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." Do you two talk on the way home? Or do you not talk for a week? Because you stood up and both of you had very, very opposite thoughts. It is okay to have a different opinion. But please, we've been married 54 years. Sure, we think differently. But we respect one another, and I'm going to ask that of you today because I know this is a very passionate meeting. Be respectful. Also, do not refer to someone in person by their name. Instead, please say a former speaker or someone brought up. That helps to prevent personal attacks. Now, even though someone stands at the mic and you're allowed 2 minutes, if I find that there is repetition and we're saying the same things over and over and over, I am going to say to the speaker, please, unless you have something new to contribute, please take a seat. We don't need to hear the same thing said 45 times in a row. We would be here for 3 days. And I don't want to be here for 3 days because it's going to rain tomorrow. So voting, after that, after everyone has had the opportunity to speak, I will call for the vote. In order for your vote to be counted, you all have blue cards. When I call for the vote, I have tellers that will come up the aisles, and they will count the votes row by row. Please hold your cards up high. Don't hold them down at your waist level. Hold them up high so that they can see you and they can count you, especially because we have some long rows here. When the teller is finished with the row, they will tell you that they're done and they will move on to the second row. One of the things that comes up sometimes at town meeting is people want to reconsider a vote that was taken. We have had a long-standing policy on reconsideration. A motion to reconsider does require a vote by a simple majority. And it enables the majority of voters attending to bring back an article for further consideration. The purpose of reconsideration is to permit a correction of hastily or ill-advised or an erroneous action, or to take into account that there's some new information that was not available when we started talking about the motion. And I think in my 11 years, we've only had one. And that was because we did have some new information on legality of an article, and I did allow for reconsideration. It is my judgment call as to whether I will allow reconsideration or not, and it's based on those items. And this is the same policy that almost every moderator in the state uses. Photo policy. Please listen to this. There is a policy at town meeting that no photos may be taken. I don't want to go on Facebook this week and see pictures of everybody here. So keep in mind, there is a no photo policy because we are a legislative body. The only ones who are allowed, and they have to seek my permission ahead of time, is a member of the press. They have some very strict rules that I impose on them. They cannot take a photo during a vote. They can not take photos of other things that they're aware of. So keep in mind, do not use your cell phone to take a photo. If I find that I see someone doing that, I will ask you to leave because you violated the rule. This meeting is being held in an unusual time. And I want to say, making the decision to have it today was a difficult one, as has been the 4 months that I recessed the meeting under an allowance by the law. I hope that you'll understand that we have tried our very, very best to make this a safe meeting for everyone. Please keep your masks on. Please safe distance. And when we adjourn, please don't all try to file out at once. Please give time for people starting in the front row to exit so that we can keep you all safe. I honestly and truly, this has been agonizing for me as a moderator as to what to do. I want to keep you safe, so I hope that you will respect that we need to do that. And please don't walk so close to one another that we're going to have an issue. So we've come together today in a civil assembly as a community in a tradition that's older than the Commonwealth itself. The first one was held at the church on Gibbs Avenue in 1739. And in the end, caring for each other in this community is of a far greater importance than any difference that we may have. As we deliberate, let each of us here today maintain an open mind and civility when we disagree. Let's come together as a strong community. If you want to smoke, there's no smoking on school property, so you're going to have to go way out if you want to have a smoke. If you're parked in a fire lane, I'm going to suggest to you, you may want to get up and go move your vehicle because it will be ticketed. There's no food or drink allowed. We need to respect that this is the Gateman baseball field. They've been very gracious to allow us to meet here today. I have allowed that if you wanted to bring water, because I know we would be out in the sun, please, if you do have a bottle of water, don't leave it on the ground when you leave. Be respectful, please. So just remember, turn off your cell phones. I have one more important thing that I want to do. Where is Chief Walchuk? Yeah. Chief Walchuk nearby?
Just saying he's back there.
Chief Walchuk. As you probably know, Chief Walchuk is going to be retiring. I think it's a sad day for our town, but a very happy day for him to be able to spend time with his family. Chief Walchuk has been a wonderful, wonderful chief. I've enjoyed working with him over the years on different committees. He's very respectful to everyone. So if we could get Chief Walchuk to,
Yeah, opening the gate.
I know he's probably not liking that I'm doing this because that's the way he is, but if you would please come forward.
Come out of the end zone, Chief.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and give a hand to Chief Walchuk and wish him the best. Chief Walchuk, Godspeed and good health. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your years of service. Would the Chairman of the Board of Selectmen like to address the body?
Briefly, Madam Moderator. You've already gone over the reasons why we're here. This is an amazing day for the town of Wareham to see so many people turn out to a town meeting and decide important questions. In December, we had a town meeting under different circumstances. 82 people showed up. In November, we had an election where 12,700 people showed up. And as I like to tell people all the time, we can screw the town up a hell of a lot more than Joe Biden or Donald Trump ever could. It's important for you to keep an eye on what we do, to advise us, to help us. And regardless of the outcome today, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I'm extremely proud to see such a great turnout. Thank you, and please give yourselves a round of applause.
Would the Chairman of the Finance Committee like to speak to the voters?
Thank you, and I can only repeat what Peter has already said. This is really fascinating to see the number of people who are taking an interest in taking the day off. I'm sure you all tune into our Zoom meetings. I hope you do. And it gives me a pleasure to know so many are informed as what is taking place. Just as a side note, you all received a letter in the mail that is a reprint of what occurs in our recommendation in the warrant Finance Committee report. The Finance Committee did not have anything to do with that mailing. It is a public document. However, there was highlights in it which changed the tone. The maker of it finally called me and apologized to it, and I certainly reamed them out to say we do not participate in anything like that. The Finance Committee reports exclusively to town meeting. We work exclusively for town meeting. We do not get involved in that. And you really your turnout today has made me proud to all my years I spent at town meeting and with the Finance Committee to know so many are taking an interest in what we do. I mean, we're highly paid. And yeah, the one paid on this DS is the moderator, by the way. And we do vote on what she gets paid. That's next month. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Is there have I made town meeting clear as to how we're going to go forward? I just want you to understand. Okay. Because the special town meeting was posted for 12:30, I need to call that meeting to order. We still are in the first meeting. This one is within that one. So I am going to call the special to order, and we will take up the business of the special, which is the one and only article in your book on the special town meeting, which is the zoning article. Do we want to do the first one or the first one now?
Well, you know, here's what you could do. Why not knock off the dead one?
Okay.
And then we had a couple financial articles, didn't we?
No.
No, just that dead one,
Yeah.
is that the only one?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just get rid of that.
Okay.
Give a few more people.
Okay. Before I open the special, we're going to take the first article in the special town meeting, which was a zoning article. There were, I believe, 3 or 4 public hearings There were about 32 changes to the article. I had 5 different copies. People were calling me and said, I don't know which one is the correct one. And my answer was, I don't know either. So the suggestion was made that we call a special within the special and only put that zoning article on the warrant in its final, absolute, no changes version. Zoning articles are complicated, and if someone stands to make amendments or try to change it, the ultimate thing is I have no idea what I'm voting on. I wanted to be absolutely sure that you understand what that zoning article is. And so that is the reason why it stands by itself in a special. I want you to have that in your hands. I don't want anybody to leave here today to be able to say, I didn't know what we were voting on. So that's why we did it. So I'm going to stay within the first meeting because we're going to take that first article and dispense of it so that we can take it up in the second. So we're in the first meeting on Article 1, which is the Hospitality, Recreation, and Entertainment District, which is the version that is very confusing. So I'm going to ask for a motion from the Finance Chairman, and that will allow us to take that off the table and then do it in the second. So, Mr. Pigeon?
Madam Moderator, I move to refer Article 1 of the special town meeting to the Planning Board for further study.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. This only takes a majority vote, and that's only because we're referring it back to the Planning Board. All those, I'm going to try for a voice vote. I'm going to try for unanimous. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
So voted, declare majority.
It is so voted, and I declare a majority vote. So now I am going to ask for a motion to recess the first meeting, and then I will open the second meeting, and then we will take up that single article on zoning as the article in the special. May I have a motion to recess?
Madam Moderator, move the recess of special town meeting.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It passes. I now will call for a recess of the first meeting, and I now will open the second meeting. Again, the warrant for the second meeting has been certified to me that it was duly posted, and so I will call the special town meeting to order. May I have a motion on the article for the special town meeting?
Madam Moderator, I move that Article 1, Hospitality, Recreation, and Entertainment District, that the town, oops, I got the wrong one. My apologies.
Like I said, it gets confusing.
Madam Moderator, I move Article 1, Hospitality, Recreation, and Entertainment District, East Wareham. I move the town vote to approve Article 1 as printed in the warrant.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. So what this means,
Too much paperwork.
what we're discussing and what we're ultimately going to vote on is this very lengthy article that you have in your hands. I think it's about 16 pages.
Yes.
This is what we're going to be discussing. This is what we're going to be voting on. I just want to make that very clear so that everyone... Person standing at the microphone, are you asking for a point of order? State your point.
Precinct 2.
In the green. For what reason are you standing?
I'm standing for a point of order to not conduct any business on this special town meeting until all voters who are standing in line waiting to enter are in the facility to conduct the vote properly. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate your point of order. I believe that we will be having a very lengthy discussion on this, and it would give those coming in plenty of time to come in. I'm sure that we will be here for a while, and they will have time to come in. And I will hopefully, at that point, see no people standing in line, and at the end, we can take a vote. So, we have Article 1 before us. To speak to the article, Chairman Titlebaum?
Yes, Madam Moderator. Normally, an article like this would be presented by the town administrator, but in this instance where he's out, he has asked me to present the article. If you don't mind, I'm actually going to sit because I think this microphone is going to be subject to the wind if I stand up. First off, I would like to read a letter that the town administrator did submit that he wanted me to read out to you. Good afternoon. Thank you to all for attending this meeting. So why is everybody here today? The simple answer is that the residents of this community have asked us to provide more services while keeping the cost burden of services off of the back of the residential taxpayer. There are needs for a senior center, a new police station, and residents want more services without increasing their tax burden. So to do that, we need to expand our commercial base. Right now, 83% of our tax base is residential property, 10% is commercial property, 2% is industrial property, and 5% is personal property, which are items in second homes, machinery, and certain business equipment. It is easy to drive down Cranberry Highway and drive by Wareham Crossing and think that Wareham has huge amounts of commercial property. But Wareham is geographically large, and there is so much more residential property than commercial. So we need to extend our commercial base and expand not with big box retail stores that have little commercial value and few high-wage jobs, but with high-end commercial property with good jobs that are a benefit to the community. And we have been trying to change zoning, rebuild planning and zoning departments, and fighting to be part of national programs like Downtown Wareham, which was approved by Governor Baker and the United States Treasury Department as a designated opportunity zone. In less than 2 years, that designation paid dividends when Danny Warren bought the land that housed the former Greer lumber yard and has a great proposal to revitalize that blighted area. We are planning for the future, and that does include supporting conservation efforts. Recently, Mass Audubon purchased an additional 95 acres, the seminary down on Great Neck, that when connected with other conservation and land in that area will now equal over 200 acres. The town helped Buzzards Bay Coalition purchase Wickett's Island, and they additionally placed dozens of acres in Burgess Point under a permanent conservation restriction. Bryant Farm, the Westgate Conservation Area, land along Horseshoe Pond in the Weweantic, the town has supported many conservation efforts. But conservation does not mean no longer allowing development anywhere that doesn't already have a structure on it. Today, the zoning article before you was printed in the warrant in its entirety so that there can be no confusion about versions or timeframes. Why is this important? Because after all the changes, this proposal is really the town's proposed zoning change. It has been changed to address concerns from Wareham citizens, planning board members, and feedback from other boards and committees. There have been many public hearings, and unfortunately there has been some misinformation, whether willful or otherwise. So at its very simplest, this article is brought forth to afford the residents an opportunity to decide whether they want to add a zoning overlay in the area that does not do away with the current zoning protections, such as the 15% maximum impervious service limit, but allows for other uses that can generate revenue and jobs in Wareham. Lastly, when it comes to you, the voter, there is no one side versus the other. You're here because you care about your town. You may have different visions, but you are here to vote what you believe is best for our community. After today's vote, and no matter the outcome, you will all still be friends, family, and neighbors in a fantastic community. So please remember, while it is okay to disagree, we don't have to be disagreeable about it. Respectfully, Derek Sullivan.
Thank you. Now have the vote and the
1 second.
recommendation. Are you done?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, this was just Derek's letter.
May I have the vote and recommendation of the Board of Selectmen?
I still have more to go, Claire.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Okay. I thought-
yeah, I was just reading his letter. So, I have additional information here I'd like to give the body as a proponent.
Okay.
I'll try to keep it fairly brief,
Okay.
just a few more minutes. You know, selectmen are essentially responsible for trying to get the citizens of the town the best bang for their buck, the most services. That is difficult with our budget. We don't raise enough money to take care of even basic needs, like potholes, streetlights. How many times have I gone on Facebook, and it seems like every 3 months, somebody in Onset is starting a new drive to get streetlights. I had to complain for 2 years to get streetlights fixed in Wareham Village as a selectman. I mean, who do you have to know in this town to get something done? So we also know that there are issues with quality of life issues. We would like to add additional police. We would like to add additional code enforcement to deal with some of these rundown properties that the people have abandoned and don't take care of. We need more money for a new police station and a new senior center. Now, we tried in 2014 to raise money through an operational override, and we got killed. It wasn't even competitive. And we heard the message, we don't want to lay more taxation upon you. You're already getting hit for the new school. And while the town administrator, through his conservative fiscal efforts, has saved the taxpayers about $20 million on what has to be paid back, we know we can't dip into your well any longer. So, another point, the big box stores like Walmart don't pay as much as you might think they do in taxes. Walmart pays around $140,000 a year for that big property out there, that big store. That's about as much as 35 houses do, and that's it. We can't change the tax rate split to commercial, favor more taxation of commercial at this point, because it would crush our small businesses. And we can't differentiate between Walmart and a barber shop. State law doesn't allow us to do that. So we're stuck in this sort of vicious circle here where we're not getting the revenues we need to provide the services you want. That's why an opportunity like this to take an area of town that, while it has some good pristine land, also has some land that has been significantly altered and is not pristine, try to rezone it and try to come up with possibilities for development. Those kinds of possibilities could include surgical specialty centers, medical offices, biotech, something like Great Wolf Lodge, a sports complex, possibly a new home for the gateman, something like Patriot Place. A casino? I don't think so. I think with the recognition of the Wampanoag from Mashpee as a federal tribe, they've got the inside track for that. And to be honest with you, I don't believe that a third casino in Massachusetts is all that viable anyway. So, that brings us to the other concerns that we've heard about this article, environmental issues. The entire area in question, in terms of the 275 acres that are really the target for development here, are included in the Zone 2 wellhead protection. And under that, you can't do things like have fuel tanks, you can't do things like have a dump, or any of that sort of thing. So it's already protected by state regulations. It's already protected by Section 440 of our existing zoning bylaw, because that sets an overlay district in town of no more than 15% impervious surface to be covered out there. So only a maximum of 41.25 acres out there could be covered up. And again, much of the land is already disturbed, but not all of it. And there are some nice pine stands, especially to the eastern side of the property, that are closest to the Red Brook Reservation. And those would be the areas you would want to protect. And the law would actually call for the 25% open space requirement. And I would assume that the planning board would certainly go out there and take a look at the property and say, yeah, that's the 25% you need to protect over there. This is going to bring me to my last point. Anytime you rezone an area, there are impacts to the local residents there. And we understand that. You might have lighting issues at night. You might have, not more traffic, because nobody is going to give anybody a permit unless they come up with access off Route 25. But there are quality of life issues that can pop up whenever you change anything. Another environmental concern that ties in with this one is that we know we don't have sewer capacity. So how are they ever going to build anything out there without sewer? The answer is they're going to pay for the sewer. They are going to have to pay to run a line up Glen Charlie. They're going to have to pay probably to expand for additional capacity at the plant. And they would have to pay to kick in for the outfall pipe that we're going to need, because we're not going to be able to get too much sewage out of the current plant into the Agawam River because we're near our discharge limit currently. So for the people up there, while I understand that this is, something that's kind of on your doorstep, the flip side to it is, if you make a developer come in and pay for all of that infrastructure, it is going to save thousands of dollars on the sewer betterment. And make no mistake about it, the state eventually is going to make us sewer up Shangri-La and Glen Charlie, because those areas are along rivers, other bodies of water, and everything else, because they're going to want to take the nitrogen out of there. And so that's sort of the thing that I don't think has been brought out enough, is that there will eventually be a sewer benefit to everybody up there. I understand that there are people concerned about the environment. I understand that there are concerns about the Red Brook, the trout that are in there. We are appreciative of the efforts that the fishermen and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts have made to protect that area. The existing protections and also the additional protections that are contained in the proposed bylaw to monitor water quality, to take a look at anything that a developer would put in, will protect Red Brook. I also checked out the state reports that are required from the Onset Water District. Just a minute. And interestingly enough, you've had a superhighway running several hundred yards north of where those wells are since the mid-'80s. Other than chloroform, which, believe it or not, is a natural breakdown product in pine forests and occurs naturally in the water, there was zero contamination from gasoline detected that I saw testing back to 1992. So I guess my point is, if you've got 8 lanes of superhighway running right next to the water supply, and if that hasn't screwed it up, any development on this property with good stormwater management under the new standards should adequately protect the water supply and Onset. So, in closing, I want to make note that 5 of us selectmen voted to put this on the warrant. Only 4 of us voted a favorable recommendation. I want to be very clear and acknowledge that Mr. Manise did not. And so I don't want people thinking that all 5 of us have bought into what I just presented to you. So Mr. Manise was the exception, and that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. May I have the vote and recommendation of the Finance Committee, please?
Madam Moderator, the vote of the Finance Committee was 5-3-0. That's 5 approved, 3 did not approve, and no abstentions. We recommend that you approve this article and adopt it. The Finance Committee looks at the entire picture, that is to say, the entire community. How would we benefit from this commercial construction or development? If we look at it per household, we gain approximately $3,400 each in taxes, with a value of $330,000 per household. It costs us approximately $25,000 per student. We have 3,450 students in our system. We spend approximately $60 million per year on our school system. That's all included, retirement, pensions, etc. As a result, we also have some 200 units of 40B housing coming online in approximately 2 years. Each of them could possibly have a child. So that adds to our expense of teaching, of course. And we cannot raise any more taxes on people such as yourselves. This commercial development will offer us a significant increase in revenues. It won't pay everything, but it'll be a more economical way of raising the money we need to go forward than to try and rely on new construction or additional housing. We have recently reviewed all the budgets of our town departments, and I must commend every one of them. The fact that they're accomplishing their tasks is almost short of a miracle. You go into the town hall, practically every office has an empty desk. Public maintenance, they only have 10 people to maintain the cemeteries, highways, beaches, and all the other issues that they have to address. They also maintain our entire fleet of vehicles, including the school buses. The library, we are able to fund 80% of their budget. We are totally dependent on Friends of the Library and others' generous contributions so we can maintain our accreditation. The school department itself has asked for an additional 10 people, primarily in special ed. We couldn't afford to do that, but our children need those services. So we have a conflict of what would we do to raise that money. Well, again, I recommend the commercial area in this particular development could produce a significant amount of revenue for us. I really don't have any more words that can emphasize how necessary additional revenues is. What we have to decide now is how do we raise those revenues? What has least impact on existing services? I recommend approval of this article. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started.
We gotta get your microphone on clear.
Testing, thank you. Before we get started, we do have aisles between the rows, and I know that people are still coming in. Please do not sit in those aisles because people are going to be getting up to speak, and we don't want to impede being able to let them get to the microphones. There are some vacant chairs over here. The ones that are tipped over now can be put up because they are vacant. There are vacant chairs over to my right. Please find a chair and make yourself comfortable. Because this is a zoning article, it does require a report from the planning board. May we have that report, please?
Hi, is this on?
Need more?
Okay. Thank you, Madam Moderator. As you stated, any zoning article that comes before the town, or before this body, the planning board is charged with holding a public hearing on it. This particular article was a joint effort between the planning office and the Notice Group as a proponent of the article. It was first introduced to the town in 2019. Concept development was suggested for 275 acres of land known as the Graziano Sand Pit. First concept was June 26, 2020, and it went through drafts July, November, December of 2020, February and March of 2021, with many revisions that the moderator spoke of earlier. In fact, the first vote of the first rendition of this plan did not meet planning board approval. It would not get a positive recommendation for this body. They went back to the drawing board and attempted to correct the shortcomings that we found. And it's very difficult to have a public hearing, take the input you receive from the public hearing and adjust the article and get it on town meeting warrant. So that's why you see the special within a special. It was to get the information to the public with the finished product and still have time for the proper notification, and it looks like from this turnout that worked. The planning board opened the public hearing on the current rendition on April 5th, accepted correspondence of the record, accepted public comment, and testimony, after hearing testimony, closed the hearing and approved the report. Based on the recommendation of the planning board for a 2/3 vote for approval, the planning board voted favorable action 3-1-0. We feel that we've got protections in there where if a developer were to propose a project, it would need some sort of treatment prior to groundwater discharge. And they would have to invest in those infrastructure points, or it would not meet planning board approval. We feel, given the circumstances of this area, I know it's unfortunate to give up wildlands, but I think we've got enough protections in there to come up with a good project that the town could benefit with.
Is that it, Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we now will open this article up for discussion. If you want to speak to the article, you need to go to the microphone. I only want to see 2 people at the microphone at a time because of COVID. I want to keep you all healthy. You will only have 2 minutes. So before you go to the microphone, please think about what you want to say and make what you say important, relative, and you get your point across. Please state your name. The microphone over here will be to my left. We have a center microphone and one to my right. Ladies and gentlemen, there's still plenty of seats over here, and I would like you to come over because when we go to take a vote, you're going to need to be in areas so our tellers can count you. What we will do after a person goes to the microphone is we will wipe it with a wipe. Like I said, we have tried our very, very best to make this work. So, my tellers, do I have somebody at the microphone on my left? I have someone at the microphone in the center? Approach the, that's a person in the center. State your name. Wait a minute, we need to turn it on. Okay, I believe it's on.
Good afternoon, Madam Moderator, Brent Ekstrom, and I rise to speak in opposition to the article. One of the things that the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, are both trying to say is how we need more how we need income, and this will give it.
Go ahead.
It's going out in and out. Sorry.
No, it's not. We can hear you.
Okay. The problem with that is the more you put up there, the more services you're going to need. And what they've tried to do is scare us into saying they're going to have high-density housing up there. The housing up there is 3-acre zoning. That means you need 3 acres to build one house. If you look at like the Maple Springs development, the Makepeace development on Maple Springs Road, those houses are not high-density, low-income housing. Those houses go for, the valuations are $200,000 more than the numbers that they used to come up with their numbers. These are the type of houses we want in our community. They're high income.
30 seconds.
2 people that own it, no kids. There's less than 1 child in every 3 houses over there. So if they're trying to scare you into saying that we need this money, those are the houses we want, not the houses that they have in their bylaw that they could potentially put in, which is 4 apartments
Time.
for every one house. Please vote no.
Thank you. I'm going to need my teller's help because in order for me to, no applause, no calling out. In order for me to be able to see, I need my distance glasses, and they're shaded, so it's difficult for me to see. So I'm going to ask my tellers that if someone's at your microphone, just raise your hand and let me know. Is there anyone at the microphone on my right? How about on the left?
Yes.
On my left, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Edward Pasevich. I live in District 1, and I'm the former chairman of the Wareham Clean Water Committee. Plymouth Carver's sole source aquifer is the only source of fresh drinking water for the entire town of Wareham. Hence the grave concern we have for protecting our only water source. The water in the aquifer travels generally from north to south, headed towards the ocean, and that's very important. According to the current Wareham zoning bylaws, Residential District 130 is intended to preserve and protect groundwater and surface water resources. This zoning district covers all of the land in the proposed overlay district. The single greatest source of nitrogen pollution is wastewater from septic systems. According to the current Wareham zoning bylaws, R130 allows one single-family detached dwelling on 3 acres of land, which on average would produce 330 gallons of wastewater per day per 3 acres.
30 seconds.
The following examples, calculated in accordance with 310 CMR 15, show a daily average discharge of wastewater from some of the identified proposed activities in the overlay district. Land coverage is unknown. One 3-family home, 990 gallons per day. One 4-family home, 1,320 gallons per day. A 40-room hotel, 4,400 gallons of wastewater per day.
Time, Mr. Pasevich.
I'd like to request 2 more minutes, Madam Moderator.
I want to get a sense of the meeting. All those that want to give Mr. Pasevich 2 more minutes, please raise your hands. All those opposed? It looks as if the body would like to give you 2 more minutes, and then I'm going to be very clear, make it just 2 more minutes, nothing more.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. A 50-seat restaurant, 1,550 gallons of wastewater per day. 10-unit motel, 1,100 gallons of wastewater per day. These single identified units would produce almost 10,000 gallons of new wastewater per day on an unknown amount of land. The project applicant has never specifically mentioned how it was going to manage the tens of thousands of gallons of affluent wastewater generated by this project. It is not in this proposed bylaw, regardless of what has been said. The website, www.warehamwins, provides a video site tour of the proposed rezoned area. The subject of the video is the land of the Graziano ready-mix concrete earth removal operation. This land, along with approximately 80% of the proposed overlay district, is located in Zone 2 on top of the aquifer. This land is also located in the Wareham Groundwater Protection Overlay District. Travel in a southerly direction from this earth removal operation on the other side of Route 25 are the wells of the Onset Water Department. The proximity, a half a mile or 2,500 feet of the proposed Herbron Overlay District to the Onset Water Department
30 seconds.
wells is the major concern for keeping the drinking water safe. Thank you.
Thank you. No applause, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just, no calling out, no applause. Someone in the middle, I'm going to try to go back so I can go across 1, 2, 3. So in the center?
Is this the center?
Nice try, Christian.
Go ahead.
Madam Moderator, Urban Russell, Precinct 6 of Wareham, and I'm rising to a question of clarification or...
State your question, please, Mr. Russell.
Yes. I understand some of the restrictions, but there has been no mention of an adult zone. Is that included in the restrictions, or is that included in the allowable functions?
I think if you look in your booklet, it will tell you specifically what is allowed and what isn't allowed.
I have not. Is there any mention of an adult zone? That is the question.
Is someone to answer the question? Mr. Buckland? Mr. Buckland is our town planner.
Through you, there is no listing of adult uses in this bylaw.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Mr. Russell?
He's saying there is no uses mention, or there is no mention of an adult zone?
To answer his question, if you care to,
That-
Mr. Buckland?
That's the state.
Yes, that is correct.
All right, so...
30
in it-
seconds.
Okay, 30 seconds for me?
Yes.
I was posing a question,
Okay.
so my time should begin after the question was answered. But
That's
Madam
it,
Moderator,
that's-
I rise to the fact that an adult zone, if in fact were proposed there, the town would be obligated to allow it. And that by law. So if not restricted specifically, then that would be one of the
Time, Mr. Russell.
actions that would take place, or could take place, in that overlay district.
Time, Mr. Russell. On my right, is there somebody on the right, far right microphone? On my left? On my left, go ahead.
Madam Moderator, I would like to speak and oppose to the,
Please state your name.
my name is Faith Berry.
Go ahead.
I would like to speak and oppose to the proposition. My point is that I don't see where there's been an adequate environmental historical review, nor has there been a cultural assessment of this area to adequately address concerns and issues, areas that need to be designated specifically. Also, Wareham has an opportunity to bring in ecotourism. There are many areas that you talked about, and I think we need to look at that as a potential revenue channel. We can get grants from the federal government. There's other grants that can bring revenue into this community. Thank you.
Thank you. In the middle?
Yes, my name is David Hurd. I'd like to speak about this. First of all, overlay districts do not change the underlying zoning regulations. They add new uses and new restrictions on those uses. I and many other people thought this property was being zoned for 3-acre residential units. After all, the zoning is R130. But after looking at the existing zoning bylaw, I was surprised to find there are a number of other existing uses that are allowed by right, like agricultural uses, animal kennels, riding stables, piggeries, veterinary hospitals, daycare centers. And if you want to go through a special permit, you can also build a cemetery, a residential cluster development, or a golf course. And everybody knows that the current property is currently being used as a sand pit and has an old pig farm over it. And yes, the property is over the Plymouth Carver Aquifer, but my house is over it too, and your house is over it too, and the impact so far has been minimal. In fact, the aquifer, according to the EPA, covers 199 square miles and includes parts of 8 towns from Kingston and Plimpton down to Wareham.
30 seconds.
And we're fortunate to have the Miles Standish State Forest just north of it because that protects a lot of it. I'm in favor of the overlying district because I want Wareham to have choices. I think we all want choices. Remember, this vote only adds the opportunity for some to come in and say, I'd like to build something in Wareham. And then they'd have to show the town, you and I, and everybody else, exactly what it is they want and why it's good for Wareham. Back to choices.
Time.
Suppose your high school student came to you and said, hey, Mom or Dad, you know, I just got a full scholarship to
Just a minute.
UMass."
This is up to me. I regulate the meeting. I will let him finish his sentence. I'm not going to interrupt him. I have warned him that his time is up. But just so you understand, I regulate the meeting. Mr. Hurd, wrap it up.
I will, thank you. But they came to you and said, I just got a full scholarship to UMass, isn't that great? I said, yes, but I also got a full scholarship to Harvard. Which one should I take? Well, I would recommend that you go to Harvard, not because you get a better education, but because at the end of the time, you have more choices.
Mr. Hurd, you've had enough time.
And we all need choices, and Wareham needs choices. Thank you.
Is there someone over there? I'm having difficulty, honestly, because of my eyesight. Is there anyone on my right at the microphone? Where's my tellers? If you are, somebody raise your hand if you're at the right.
Point of order, Madam Moderator. This is your right microphone.
Okay, thank you.
That's the middle one. That's the
All
left
right.
one. Avoid
Okay.
confusion.
Okay. Thank you, appreciate that. On my left.
My name
Can I talk? Are you calling for the center? Okay.
I'm trying to go 1, 2, 3. I believe he was,
My name is Peter Marco, and I am a member of the Wareham Land Trust. And I received an email on Thursday, and there's a paragraph that is a little troubling to me. I want to read it to you and ask for clarification. It says, also important to developer and their lawyer are writing the rezoning bylaw for the town. This bylaw is not being written by the town. Ultimately, it is the town that will be responsible for any pollution of our water supply and other environmental damages that will occur. My question is this an accurate statement that the town did not write the bylaw?
to answer the question, if someone chooses to answer it. Mr. Buckland?
Madam Moderator, through you, the bylaw was written by the proponent. I put time into review and comment on the content, and there was a public hearing, several public hearings on the bylaw where the content was discussed.
Thank you. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay, in the center.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Jessica, and I was waiting in line for quite some time, but when I did get here, I heard from people that work within the town that were for this, but I haven't heard publicly anyone that wasn't for this. Did anyone speak in opposition to the zoning to the crowd?
I believe we have had a couple people speak, yes.
Okay. And then one more thing, there's so many vacant properties on Cranberry Highway alone that people could go in and create businesses which would help with tax revenue, and I'm just curious why we wouldn't utilize what we already have available.
There's no question. Is that a question that you would like to have an answer to?
Sure.
To answer the question and answer the question only?
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum?
Am I on?
No. Try it now.
Hello? Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, to answer your question, the reason you see, especially the East Wareham portion of Cranberry Highway in the condition that it is that, first off, there's no depth to those properties for the most part that would allow substantial development, a large-scale development. The second reason is it's under the state building code. When you go in for new uses, you have to bring these properties up to existing code. And very often, it is much more expensive to try to renovate one of these structures than it is to simply start with fresh land, not worry about the disposal of the old building, not worry about asbestos that might be in there or other issues, and simply start clean. That's why you see typically large-scale projects happen on fresh land. Cranberry Highway, I believe, was rated the 3rd or 4th area of concern when the redevelopment authority had a study done. Wareham Village was 1st, Onset Village was 2nd, and I believe Cranberry Highway was a distant 3rd. So I hope that answers your question as to why nobody seems to be too interested in doing anything out there at the present time.
Thank you.
Am I right?
Hi, I'm Marcia Sweeney Campbell, and I've lived here all my life, and I'm also disabled. And I have noticed since the 80s, 90s, 2000s that there's almost exactly the same amount of sidewalks as there were, but there's more business. And I'm still waiting for sidewalks to get done over by Walmart on Toby Road. So with this new place, there is 24% of Wareham that is either disabled or veterans, and that's a hike out there. There's no sidewalks. So does any of this come up with sidewalks, and what do you plan on doing with the rest of the town that's almost sidewalk free? It's very dangerous to walk in this town unless you're driving.
To answer the question? Mr. Titlebaum?
I actually had not. Hello? Hello?
Try it now.
Hello?
Steve, can you turn Peter's microphone on, please? Try it now.
Hello?
It wouldn't be the first time I asked you.
You want to use mine?
Yeah. Yes, your question about sidewalks. Earlier when I was speaking in favor of the article, I mentioned that if any sewer goes in, you're going to have to put that in. It's going to go up Glen Charlie Road. Any redesign of Glen Charlie Road, you would tell whoever the ultimate developer is up there, and you're going to put in sidewalks too to make it safer. That is very clear. That is something that the planning board certainly would require in any special permitting process, because, you know, why not? If you've got somebody who's going to pay for this and it's not coming out of your pockets, then I believe the planning board would say have at it.
I was told it was supposed to be up on Toby Road too, and there's no sidewalks on. There's sticks outlining the sidewalk. So what they say and what they do are two different things.
Thank you, Mrs. Campbell. Again, ladies and gentlemen, no applause. On my left.
Kathy Pappalardo, Precinct 5.
Check, 1, 2.
The previous speaker said much of what I was going to say, so I'm not repeating. But just to the aquifer, it's designated a sole source aquifer, comes from the Environmental Protection Agency via the Safe Drinking Water Act. This is a big deal. This designation means that if this aquifer is contaminated, it would create a significant health hazard and serious financial burden to the area residents, because at least 50% of the drinking water for an area is coming out of this to get that designation. The other thing I wanted to say was that having no plans presented to us, we have no idea what the water withdrawal will be from the aquifer for this. A previous speaker talked about the wastewater, which we don't know what they're going to put there, and we don't know how much water they're going to withdraw in regards to how the flow of water in the aquifer will move once all this water starts coming out. One last piece. This area is currently zoned R130 for that reason. Years ago, it was called agricultural watershed. Then it was called R130 to minimize the impact of development on the aquifer.
30 seconds.
Lastly, this overlay would be going on the overlay for the groundwater protection. By law, the strictest of the two overlays is what would hold up in court. I urge you to vote no on this. Thank you.
Thank you. In the middle, please, I don't want to have to keep repeating this, and it seems to be coming from this side. There is no applause, no speaking out, and that's so we can get through this quickly and in a nice manner. In the middle.
Yeah, I'll try to keep this short. My name's Mr. Marzouk.
Mr. Mazu, can I just, I was just advised by town council that in addition to your name, you should give your address in the precinct.
Absolutely.
And that's for everybody.
You know, sitting here listening to you guys, I mean, you guys are public servants. I don't think you're really doing anything for us. The fact that you have us out here on a Saturday and this could have been done on a ballot.
Please talk to the article. No, you're talking to our officials. Talk to the article.
Telling us our taxes will be better in the future if we go for this. I disagree. I don't think you're doing us a favor. I am completely against this. It's your fiduciary duty to work for us. You have us out here on a Saturday when we could have had this on a ballot. 99% of these people here are against this. Shut it down.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to warn you one more time, and this is the last time. Who just made that comment? Because I will have you removed if I hear that again or hear anything like this again. Under the law, if somebody is unruly, and I judge them to be unruly, under the law, I can have you removed. Now, this is the final warning to you, and I will ask the officer to remove anyone who is going to continue to be unruly. So you might want to think about it for the next 10 seconds, because I'm serious. We are not going to have these outbursts. I realize it's a passionate article. I realize that everybody has a very definite opinion, but we're not going to let this meeting get out of control. So I'm giving you all fair warning. Am I right?
Jared Frederickson, 12 Morse Avenue, Precinct 5. Anyway, so a lot of other people here have talked about the environmental impact and the possible communal impact, but let's talk about cost here. Let's talk about the price tag. Any development in this area is going to take a sizable impact from our town. That's taxpayer money used to build new roads, for water hookups, and so on, all through this area. So all I have to say is, are there not better ways to be spending this money? Could we not be spending this to invest in Main Street, getting businesses into those empty storefronts, fixing up Merchants Way, perhaps investing in Cranberry Highway, as someone else mentioned earlier? These are all things that would bring huge economic benefit to Wareham. They would do it at a fraction of the cost without the potential environmental impact of developing this previously undeveloped wilderness area. So I'm voting against this, not only because of the possible environmental impact and the communal impact, as so many other people have talked about, but because it just doesn't make any sense to try and develop this previously undeveloped area when there is so many other areas that we could invest in and focus
30
economic
seconds.
development in that would actually benefit the community. I urge everyone else here to vote against this as well. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for doing that respectfully. On my left.
Nancy McHale, Precinct 5. I have a question for Planning Board or Mr. Buckland. At the April 5th Planning Board public hearing, I asked if anyone from the town had verified the boundaries in Appendix 1. At that time, no one could verify that anyone had actually looked at those except Mr. Tosio's associates. And I was wondering if that had been done to this point, so we know what we're voting on.
To answer the question,
Madam Moderator, through you, the boundaries of the district are shown on a map and described by distances and parcels. It is accurate for the area shown on the map.
thank you.
Verified, is that correct?
I believe there's another question to answer it if you care to, Mr. Buckland.
What was the question?
Have you actually verified that?
I haven't walked it, but I read through it and found it accurate.
Okay. I personally think that it is irresponsible that the town has outsourced its planning and that we're walking away from a master plan that was carefully crafted after significant public hearings and that the town had voted to adopt a number of years ago. So I think that that is a problem for us, that our planning board, our board of selectmen, our FinCom are doing that. Why are we looking at 765 acres when they're only looking to spot zone those 275? This makes absolutely no sense to me. Personally, it flies in the face of logic, and I would ask you to join with the other 10 conservation organizations and vote this article down.
Time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, as given an opinion from town council, please, when you come to the microphone, please give your name and your address. In the middle.
I will not give. You already paid for that information through net neutrality, sent free. But, so I'm not giving my address. Sorry. I'm kind of emotional because I don't feel comfortable being out here
Can you
today.
state your name?
Sorry, my name is Erin O'Leary Bates, and I don't want to come off like I'm angry at anyone specific. Been handled is really making me livid. My 19-month to be keeps breaking out. Like, how are you going to get my point across when it keeps going in and out? But people are speaking. People are out here during COVID.
Mrs. Bates, we're doing the very best we can.
No, you are. But my husband's had cancer. I have asthma. What happened to my son?
Mrs. Bates, to speak to the article, please.
I'm
Don't get argumentative with me. I just gave a warning.
I'm agreeing with you.
To speak to the article.
So what I want to ask is what people's information was stolen through Facebook, bought by net neutrality, and no one has been. I've had people reach out to me saying,
Mrs. Bates, stop right there. You need to speak to the article and the merits of the article as to why you support it, why you don't support it.
Sorry.
I know, it's difficult. Trust me, I understand.
I'm emotional.
Yep,
in many
I
other
understand.
people's life.
I understand.
And I'm not trying to come off livid, but I am.
Yeah, but we're here to speak to the merits of the article and nothing more.
And it's very frustrating to speak through the article when we're told one thing about it, another thing about it. So I'm speaking obviously on a no. And
30 seconds.
I have talked to many people in this town, regardless of who they voted for in the last election, and we have stood together because people haven't had a voice, and they are upset. And I don't care if you're a yes or a no, but just talk to each other because this has not been done right. And I have lived here for 4 years. I am 31 years old. This is my first time ever being involved, and I have felt so unsettled, unsafe, and I have a 19-month-old.
Mrs. Bates, time.
I'm sorry. I'm
Am
not
I
trying to
right? Person on my right?
Diane Kenny, 10 Old Woods Road, Precinct 6. Madam Moderator, I rise in opposition to this article. I live right down the street from the proposed development site in a neighborhood of ponds, dirt roads, no street lights, and cottages. On clear nights, you can see the stars and hear the owls hoot, the frogs peeping, and the foxes chattering to each other. One night I was lucky enough to even spot a bobcat walking down my dirt road. My particular neighborhood is about 50-50 year-round and summer residents. When I talk to my neighbors, the conversation invariably winds up with us marveling over how lucky we are to live in our own little piece of paradise. I've spent the last month driving around meeting new friends, and wasn't surprised to find out that they all feel the same way. They also feel like they live in their own little piece of paradise. I've spoken to residents new to town and residents whose families have lived here for several generations, and they all express their love of Wareham and their opposition to this rezoning. When the original project was proposed 2 years ago, I was horrified. I thought it would destroy my neighborhood. I thought about the traffic, the light pollution,
30 seconds.
the noise, the disturbed wildlife. In the last 6 months, I've realized that the fight was bigger than my neighborhood, and that I was fighting for all of the people like me who took a chance and invested in Wareham. We buy, we rent, we shop locally, we marvel at our paradise. I love our little country roads. I love the dark night skies lit up with stars. I love the abundance of wildlife, and I know that many of you love these things as much as I do.
Time.
Please join me in voting no. Madam Moderator, can I also ask a question?
Your time is up. Is
So
it
in
a,
addition to
is
my
it,
time, can I
is it
ask a
a, is it a
question?
quick question?
I believe so.
Okay.
The chairman of the finance committee mentioned that the maker of the letter had called and apologized. I'd like to know who the maker was, what company they were.
Totally out of line. Nope. Totally out of line. On my left?
Oh, hi. My name is Mark Troran. I live on Glen Charlie Road. That's where I've lived all my life. And my property is actually proposed to be rezoned. I don't like it, but I don't know what precinct I'm in. I'm a real estate appraiser.
6.
I analyze a lot of zoning bylaws. There was a letter in the paper recently saying that there was no way this property could have more than 15% impervious surface. That's absolutely false. And we know it's false. I look at an aerial photo of Wareham Crossing. It's 80% developed. How can that be? Well, the groundwater protection bylaw says, yeah, by right, only 15%. But by special permit, we can go up to the maximum in the district. So where Wareham Crossing is, that's 65% allowed in commercial. In R130, there's no restriction. So yes, because this bylaw only says that 25% needs to be open space, it could definitely be 75% impervious surface. This could be an enormous project, could be 5 times bigger than Wareham Crossing. Glen Charlie Road can't possibly accommodate it. That's it.
Thank you. In the middle?
How you doing? My name's Eric McLaughlin. Wareham 45 years, and I live in Wareham. Doesn't matter the precinct. I have a few questions I'd like to ask. I actually have a ton of them, but I'll narrow it down to 3. Number 1, when's the building gonna stop in Wareham? This isn't Brockton, Braintree, or Quincy. This is the country life, Wareham, the woods of Wareham. Okay, number 2, what's the backup plan for the aquifer? Number 3, the woman that just spoke kind of answered the question. What about the wildlife? Look at this beautiful bird flying by behind you with the fish in its talons. They're being forced out of their elements, their habitats. Please, citizens, do something about this. Vote no and minimize the building in Wareham, please.
Thank you. If I find out who's doing it. Am I right?
Madam Moderator, my name is Marianne Janeski.
Precinct 6. I live off of Glen Road on Perry Ave. We chose to make Wareham our home. 6 years ago, because of the ponds, the ocean, the beautiful pine-filled trails, and the wonderful, warm, caring people. We love it here. We have no regrets about moving here. Glen Road is a residential road that winds along the cranberry bogs and the ponds, on both sides. It's traveled daily by school buses, ambulances, first responders who have to navigate it with huge construction vehicles loaded with gravel who act as if the posted speed limits are merely a suggestion. They travel at speeds 40 to 50 miles per hour in a thickly settled area and have destroyed the road. Kids trying to cross the street to get safely home have to make a run for it. We do too, just to cross and go for a walk. The roads to get to Glen Charlie are few. Depot Road, Cranberry Highway, Plymouth Ave are already dangerous to navigate. Add in summer traffic for 6 months and you can't
30
even run out
seconds.
to do a 15-minute errand because it will take far longer. A commercial development would be disastrous to the hundreds of us who call this area home and add increased stress to already busy lives. Talk of widening Glen Charlie to accommodate the anticipated hundreds of additional cars by taking parts of residents' front yards is 1,000% unacceptable. Voting to keep this area residential as is intended is the only acceptable choice. I am a firm no on this proposal.
Thank you. On my left?
Michelle Rose, 6 Cottage Street, Precinct 1. I move to vote on the article.
I will not accept that motion. There are plenty of people that are still willing to and wanting to speak. If there's new information coming forward, I want to let that happen, so I will not accept a motion at this time. In the middle?
Hello. How you doing? My name is Damon Solomon, Precinct 1. I want to take a couple minutes. I didn't hear a lot of people or many people mention anything about children or kids in this town. So I just want to take a couple seconds and mention them. I represent an organization that serves well over 500 kids in this community. We all volunteer representatives of the community, of our kids. And we've been dealing with red tape, hardships, field access, numbers. We have kids going out of town to seek their education. There's many problems that we're all aware of. However, but we haven't really talked about where our future is and where our real future lies. It was with our kids. And this article, I understand there's a lot of opposition, there's a lot of negative speaking on it, or I should say people are against it. I, for one, am for it, because I'm for the kids of this community. And there hasn't been any other avenue, any other developer offering to serve the community on this level that they have offered to serve. And also, there hasn't been any organizations in this town, and there might be business owners among us. Please reach out to us, because we can use your help. Also, we have issues with getting parents involved and that kind of stuff, and the problem is really they're just not loving our town enough. One of the developers coming in can do a lot of that, and it's just one developer, not all the developers.
30 seconds.
Thank you, ma'am. Also, there's a lot of things we have to discuss and be mature about and be respectful, and one of it obviously is the environment. I respect the environment. 20 years of the military, respect the freedom of others, everyone here to speak. Plainly, we should respect the freedom that we're actually here able to do that. Also, lastly, Madam Speaker, I appreciate everything you're doing for our community. I do appreciate the Board of Selectmen and their efforts trying to make this seemingly endless process happen here today and this beautiful day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. On my right.
My name is Leslie Edwards Davis, Precinct 1. I wish to speak in opposition.
We can't big develop our way out of Wareham's challenges. Our tax revenue and town services are not dependent on this rezoning article. This is old thinking, proven not to work. Wareham Crossing and Walmart are both examples of that. Both required rezoning, both took open space, both were touted as critical to raising revenue. Yet when adjusted for inflation, our total property tax revenue has averaged about 1.9% growth, and some of that was from increased taxes from us. This chart shows commercial versus residential tax growth over 15 years. There's a growth blip. Oh my God.
State your point.
We have people in the aisles who are holding up signs that refuse to listen.
No, I didn't.
Okay, wait. We did say that there was no materials that would be brought onto the floor.
It's just a chart.
It doesn't make any difference.
Okay, I'll tell you what the chart says. The chart says that when you look at commercial growth over 15 years and you look at residential tax growth, the commercial tax growth
30 seconds.
At Wareham Crossing, it blips at Walmart, and otherwise it's a downward trend, and then you have our residential taxes creeping steadily upward. There are lots of studies that support smart growth and say that the kind of growth we're contemplating with this project will actually be a negative impact on our tax revenue. There's a Concord, New Hampshire study that shows that they added 2.8 million square feet of development and had a 19% tax revenue decrease. Our town also is leaking potential revenue from blighted land and abandoned buildings that people have already talked about out on Cranberry Highway. The ink is barely dry on our master plan, which says this should remain open space. I urge you to vote no.
On my left.
Madam Moderator, I request at this time that we adjourn, that we move to I'd like to make a motion that we move to a vote on this issue.
No, I will not accept that motion. We still have some discussion.
Madam Chairman, there have been more than enough people who have had a chance to speak. Yes, there has.
No, there hasn't.
There's
If
been
you want
numerous
to argue with me, I will ask you to leave.
Yeah.
I make the rules. It's my call. I don't think that we have had, people have waited in line to get in here. They've taken the time to come out, and I want to give people the opportunity. In the middle.
Afternoon, Madam Moderator. My name is Jared Chadwick, Glen Charlie Road Precinct. My property abuts the property that they're talking about, the Graziano pit. And the reason I'm up here speaking today right now is in favor of this thing. The thing that a lot of people don't understand in this town is I'm friends with the owners of this property, and I've talked to them clearly. This property, 275 acres will be cleared. It will be cleared that no matter what, it will be turned into something. They are selling the property because they have had enough of dealing with whatever. That's their discussion, that's their problem. Our choice is we either put in residential or we put in commercial. If we put in commercial, it's something that's going to benefit us, and we have a lot more say. If we put in residential, they don't have to put in the sewer. They can put in all those 90 houses, and they can just put in whatever they want. We have a lot more say with something commercial, and a lot more stuff that's going to benefit us. Like Chairman Titlebaum said earlier, we can make them put in sewer all the way down Glen Charlie. That sewer is going to help us. That
30
sewer's going to help
seconds.
us for our house. That's it.
On my right.
My name's Bill Gould. My property abuts Glen Charlie Road. I've been told that if this thing passes, the part of my property is going to be taken. I want to, then now the people that are proposing this warrant say that that's not gonna happen. I want to hear from this town, tell me now that there'll be no taking of my property. Because if you tell me that you're not gonna take my property, I will guarantee you a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit against this town that will make you rue the day you even had this meeting.
So you're asking a question?
I'm asking a
Okay.
question, yeah. Are
ans-
you going to take my property?
To answer the
For
question?
any reason?
To answer the question?
Hell no.
Thank you.
On my left.
Madam Moderator, my name is Stephen Fernandez. I live at 207 Plymouth Ave. I've been in Wareham since 1975. So if anybody else has been here that long, you realize that Wareham used to be a blustering town before 25 went through and took everything away from all the businesses that ran through here. I've drilled more wells into the aquifer in this area probably than 95% of you around here. It sits at 1,200 feet deep and you ain't gonna damage it. The property in question is sitting on top of an old dump full of trash, which was a pig farm at one point in time, which used to belong to a family friend. Then somebody else bought it, they stripped the land. In your article, it tells you that this developer can come in and propose to do this, that, and the third. You can speak to them, you can negotiate with them, and you can work with them. Or you can have somebody come in that doesn't care what you say, put in a bunch of houses. It ain't gonna bring up your property value any. It's gonna cost you just as much water back into the aquifer with your septic system instead of having the sewage system run through there. And you all can sit there and be like, yeah, well, I guess we should have saw this coming, but you didn't. I understand you want your properties around you to be maintained, taken care of, but you need money for your kids, you need money for your grandkids, I need money for my grandkids. I need the town to make some money. The town's making no money. The taxes are going up, the town's making no money. We need something to put us
30
back on
seconds.
the map. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
In the middle?
Testing. Perfect. Madam Moderator, Ron Bessie, 7 Lynn Road, Precinct 1. I stand up today in agreement, a vote yes on this article for several reasons. You know, I do a lot in this town. I am a member of the Wareham Conservation Commission. I am a member of the Open Space Committee. There's been a lot of questions about a lot of it doesn't mean anything's going to happen. There are still dozens of different things that have to happen with all the different boards, not just in this town, but on the state level for anything that we do. You know, we talk about the aquifer. You know, the aquifer is not just here in Wareham. It's 199 square miles of stuff that's already been built. You know, to speak to the last gentleman that spoke, that has been digging wells for many, many years, some development over on this 275 acres isn't going to affect our water. It's not. You know, we can think about it all we want and say, yes, it is, but at the end of the day, Wareham needs development. I have 5 children in this town. We're not going anywhere. My family's been in this town for many years. We need more
30
money
seconds.
to be able to bring in the different things that we need in this town for the children, because the children are our future, and we haven't done anything as a town to build our future. You know, we're living today. We're not thinking about tomorrow. And it's an unfortunate thing, but I'm just hoping that people can, you know, wake up and just see that just because we don't necessarily see a project in front of us, that, you know, there's no roses at the end of this. You know, I'm kind of disappointed with the way that we as a town have kind of handled this, and I just hope that we can think about the future of this town, not today, tomorrow, but, you know, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Am I right? Am I right?
Lisa Morales, Precinct 2, Onset. I stand with the Buzzards Bay Coalition, the Wareham Land Trust, Trout Unlimited, the trustees of reservations, the Mass Division of Fish and Wildlife, the Herring Pond Wampanoag, the Southeast Mass Pine Barrens Allowance, the Sea Run Brook Trout Coalition, the Community Land and Water Coalition, the Wildlands Trust, and Selectman Jim Eunice in not supporting this. I am a no vote on many different grounds, and I'll return to the microphone to expound on environmental, on economic, and procedural grounds. The Mass Audubon states, many municipalities are finding that conserving and restoring their land and water resources has fiscal benefits, increasing property values, reducing infrastructure costs and burdens, and attracting ecotourism and businesses. Audubon offers their support in advance of Wareham's efforts to plan for a future that is sustainable and beneficial
30
in all
seconds.
respects, economically, environmentally, and for the quality of life of local residents. On page 10 of your warrant, that which is not specifically excluded is included, and that would be an adult entertainment district. We have problems with the economic numbers presented today and previously. You don't buy 100 desks for 3 sessions of 33 students. You buy them once, and you've been given numbers that would say we buy 100 desks. We're not that stupid. Mr. Toshio told us that they
Ms.
did
Morales,
a
your time's up.
sewer plan.
Ms. Morales, your time is up. No, your time is up. You have no remaining time. On my left?
Hello? Hi, I'm Victoria Nord. I'm part of District 6 and I live on Glen Charlie. I bought the property. And I'd like to talk about my 24 years in Wareham. I've watched the town grow a lot and I've seen a lot of projects grow. We know that the new bridges are coming in and we see that Cranberry Highway is being updated. As a town, we continue to grow throughout my lifetime and I know it will continue both in housing and commercial. I've only seen growth in the West Wareham side. And I'd like to use this development to help us grow on the east side too. I think that would be a great way to look towards the future and to look for a development. We're going to grow no matter what, and I'd like us to look now and make that decision rather than come back and spend so much more money later down the line. I'd also like for those people who are afraid of the project that's been proposed previously and think that we can look at these developers, and if we take a moment to talk to them, because they've come back after one failed attempt, and take a moment to see what they want and work with them rather than work against them. I'm for the project, and I'd like people to reconsider their states. Thank you.
Thank you. In the middle?
Moderator, Naomi Arenberg, Precinct 3 in Onset. First, Madam Moderator, thank you very much for reminding us about the necessity to be civil to each other. That means for me, on Monday morning, if I happen to be seated next to anyone else in this body, say at the Mill Pond Diner, I will smile and say hello. We're all stewards together of this community. We're all stewards as fellow residents of Wareham. And I won't care on that Monday morning whether you're putting cream in your coffee or drinking it black, whether you voted yes or no today, because we all share this town. We are stewards of this property and the town. Developers who come in from the outside are stewards to their bank accounts, and if they represent a publicly held corporation, they're stewards to their audio went out. Whoops! Stewards are stockholders. Thanks also to the previous speaker who mentioned the word choices. I chose to be here today, and so did you. The plants and animals in the Pine Barrens do not choose to be there. They are born and they live there, and they cannot live anywhere else. trees that might be cut down cannot pack up and move to another location because we want to develop that area. And one further reminder to the body, to my fellow residents, extinct is forever. I hope I don't sound overly dramatic. I'm simply stating the truth. Extinct is forever. Thank you.
Am I right?
Maria, it's my comments, 6 Griffin Way. I am voting. I'm here today in support of this project. I think it's a good project. It is a vast tract of land that is accessible and can be developed appropriately, whereas all these other parcels of land that have been brought up here earlier are really limited in the amount of development suited for retail development, not as this piece of property is suited for mixed use. So my next question is for Peter. You had written a letter to the Mass Wildlife back in February, I believe. I think that was before the acreage had changed. Did you send a subsequent letter that would show the current acreage as shown? Because I believe the acreage as shown does not include any natural heritage polygons, which means does not have any animals or plants that are regulated by the state.
To answer the question, if you so choose.
Yes.
Hello? There we go. Actually, I didn't write any such letter. My understanding, and I did tell our Director of Planning that it didn't make sense to me to include the Red Brook Conservation Area in a zoning article to rezone for an overlay district. I believe that message is what may have led to that being removed. But I didn't actually write a letter in February. I just wanted to correct that.
I'm sorry if I accused you.
Thank you.
One more question then. Can someone confirm that the parcel in question is within natural heritage polygons?
To answer the question, Mr. Buckland?
Get a sense of the meeting. What's the number of speakers?
Madam Chairman, through you, the portion of the property is within the natural heritage boundaries of species, the habitat that are intended to be protected.
Thank you.
Can I follow up that question? I believe that's on the north
30
portion.
seconds.
The north portion of the property, whereas the Graziano property is more southern piece and not included within the polygons?
The Graziano piece, part of it is disturbed property, so is not included in the protected areas.
Thank you. On my left.
Andrea Piccarelli, 2 Davis Lane. I'd like to start with a question. The Finance Committee referenced $60 million in 2020 to educate the students of Wareham. With the school budget being approximately $30 million a year, what is the other $30 million in that number you're quoting?
To answer the question, if you so choose.
Yes, Madam Moderator. The balance is the benefits. The $30 million that we vote on to support the school department includes just their operational expenses. All your benefit payments occur on the municipal side. So all their health care, which we pay 68% of their premiums, as well as their retirement and any other benefits they receive are carried on the municipal side. Our auditor puts them both together for us to identify as to how much we've spent totally on education, as well as the police department, as well as public safety.
Okay. One more question. Those pensions that you're referencing.
Ms. Piccarelli, how does this relate to the article before us?
Because it's information that was presented to us to consider whether or not we need additional commercial funding, so I think it's very relevant.
Okay, I just wanted to, so that people understand.
So I just want to clarify one other question. When you quote the cost to educate our school system, or we pay in our school system, and whether or not commercial use makes more sense because that's less potential resources to be drawn. So when you just mentioned pensions, I'm not an expert on this, but aren't the majority of the school pensions teachers, and teachers self-fund their pensions?
No. There is a
Gee,
small portion.
I'll ask my mother why there isn't a big retirement that she's going to be leaving to me someday as a self-funded teacher into her retirement. But
There is a small group that is grandfathered, but that's a very old part of it.
Okay, and I'd just like to use my remaining time to make a statement. Some of you may recognize my name from the town Facebook pages. I was very, very upset over the number of phone calls that I had received over the last week, as I am a full-time employee working from home and trying to keep my child, who has a serious medical condition and cannot be in school right now, on track. And it was incredibly disruptive, and I actually was misled about who was calling me. And when I was walking in here today, someone spoke to me and introduced themselves, who was handing out black folders, and that was the name and the voice that has been calling me for the last week, downright harassing me. And I'd just like to ask ourselves, my decision is so easy, just to say, if somebody is so well-funded to do all of these things, is it in my best interest to vote yes for this? I don't think so. I think that tells me that right there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In the middle?
Testing. Hi, Jean Swoboda, Precinct 5. I move that we move the question to no action until the developer/seller actually comes up with a plan for the use of the land.
I will not accept that motion. We still have a few people. I want to give people the opportunity, and as long as we have new information coming out, once I feel that we have sufficient information and people are starting to repeat themselves, then I would entertain a motion, but at this time I will not take it.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, for your time.
Am I right?
Thomas Bickey, Precinct 3. I'd like to speak to the hydrogeology of the Plymouth Aquifer. Several speakers have commented on things that I had prepared to say. For example, the depth of the aquifer and its protection from the glacial till and glacial outwash area. The fact that nearly 12 towns share the aquifer with us, and that Wareham has no say in what kind of development takes place up gradient of the Plymouth aquifer. Also that 7% of the base flow of river streams and ponds in the area receive discharge from the Plymouth aquifer, and all those surface ponds, rivers, and streams receive runoff, street runoff and hard surface runoff, and I don't hear any of the numerous environmental organizations that were mentioned by a previous speaker rising up in opposition to the contamination of all the surface water, the way they're concerned about the aquifer, which is much more protected. And in point of fact, the aquifer is at greatest risk where the mining operation of the Graziano gravel pit is, because it exposes groundwater closer to the surface. So remediating that site would make a big difference in protecting the source of the contamination to the aquifer.
30 seconds.
And finally, I'd like to say that the town of Wareham, or I should say the withdrawal of water from the town of Wareham, is less than 5% of the volume of water that's recharged to the Plymouth aquifer. And so the notion that we're going to withdraw a significant amount of water with any further development is really a moot point. So again, I rise in support of this article. Thank you.
Thank you. On my left.
Hello, I'm Tricia Wirtz. I live in the Briarwood Beach neighborhood, and I've been on the beach for most of my life. However, most of my main home living was done in Tampa, Florida. I decided to make Wareham my primary home 2 years ago. So I've seen a lot of things happen here. I took the time to read the whole warrant and read it over 3 or 4 times, and there's several things in it that I saw that I'd like to bring up. The first is, when we look at Wareham and we talk about commercial development, we're looking at Walmart or Wareham Crossing or even Rose Point. When you read this warrant, some of the things mentioned in terms of commercial development is that buildings will be allowed to be at least 80 feet tall. That's 7 to 9 stories. It also calls for parking garages, and it talks about shared parking. In other words, there might not be enough parking for everyone, so people residing there might use the parking ability in the evening, while people in business might use it during the day. So I question that. There's also significant mentions in there about shipping docks, delivering docks. There's
30 seconds.
mention about light pollution, and that the organization will attempt to control light pollution by the type of lighting they use. That light pollution will extend over to Onset, it'll extend all down Glen Charlie, it'll extend every place. It will not be great. So I just want the people here who are voting have an idea of what the concept of commercial development really is for this piece of property. The second point I have is I looked at liability in the warrant, and do I have my 20 seconds left?
Make it quick.
Okay, there's no liability insurance or coverage for the town. The town will be liable if anything goes wrong. Thank you.
Thank you.
I vote no.
In the middle?
My name is Main Street. I don't know what precinct I'm in. I would, Board of Appeals. I see conditions put on all kinds of projects, and the developers did whatever they damn well pleased, and then came back and said, gee, we're sorry. Instead of asking permission, they came back and said, we're sorry. The other thing I would point out, we heard about this fresh land thing. Well, once the fresh land is gone, there is no more. I'm dead against this project. I don't think it's right for this town. Thank you.
Am I right?
Hello, I'm Walter Cruz, 204 Sandwich Road. My family's been in this town for over 100 years. I live off of the Agawam River for the last 22 years. I fish the river every season. I live near the waste treatment plant, which I have to smell. Once we come to capacity in the summertime, the smell goes up. What I don't like is being held hostage for my vote and being promised that we're going to get a new treatment plant when I have to sit here and listen to this. And we have big developers. I work for one of the major developers in the city of Boston. So I know about development, and I'm all for it. What I'm not for is being held hostage for my vote to go on. When we have properties on West Wareham abandoned that were developed before, at the bread factories abandoned. We've got a Walmart across from a pond that floods every rainstorm we have, which is now abandoned. So what happens when this property does not develop or go through the way they planned? Are they going to walk away from it? And I'd like to bring a motion order to proceed with the vote.
I will not take it. Tell us, will you just count who are standing at the microphones and tell me how many people we have left standing to speak?
In the middle, we have one.
Left side has 2.
Your left side has 3, Madam Chairman.
Okay. Just a show of hands, just so I get a sense, are there people who are sitting that honestly and truly want to be able to speak? We do have another meeting that we have to get to, so I don't want to beleaguer this, but at the same time, I want to give people the opportunity. Just a sense of our hands, of, okay, I really don't see that we have a lot more speakers. So I'm going to go for a little bit more, and then I will call for a sense of the meeting and what you want to do. So on my left? On my left.
My name's Renee Nelson. I live on Park Avenue, and I agree with most of the people up there that I'm against this vote. The question I have is, I've been up in that area for 15 years, my husband for over 50, and in the development of the Red Brook, we're not only seeing displacement of animals, but we're seeing introduction of invasive pets, rats, the neighborhood is overrun with rats, and now we want to bring more development into that area with no plan on how to deal with these pests in the first place. Does the town have any plan on how to deal with that infestation that's going on up there, causing property damage and a health risk to the community?
I don't see anybody standing to answer your question.
Of course you don't.
You have a little bit more time. Is there something more that you would like to?
No, I would like the selectmen to answer why that isn't going to be addressed. It's a health issue for the community, and now you're talking about bringing more development up there that's going to exacerbate the problem.
That is actually doesn't have an impact on this. It would be a Board of Health issue, and that's something that the Board of Health would need to address. And I would certainly say that you should call them and talk with them.
Is the Board of Health here? Is anyone going to comment on it? I mean, it's been
I
an
don't
issue
believe
all
I don't
along.
believe so, and I can't make anybody.
Okay, thank you.
In the middle.
I have an answer to Mr. Irvin Russell's previous question. He asked whether or
You
not...
have your name, please?
Holly Haratunian, North Boulevard. And I have an answer to Mr. Russell's question about whether or not the development would include an adult zone, if that would be permitted. Mr. Russell, I believe the answer is yes, and I think... Whoop, I'm cutting out. I believe the answer lies on page 10, number 23, which reads, in addition to the permitted uses specified above, additional uses may be permitted as part of a mixed-use development subject to a special permit if, in the judgment of the planning board, the proposed uses do not create health, traffic, or safety problems. And I think that's how they're going to try and get around stuff. I have one more comment to add. I'm glad we all got in to vote, but we knew this meeting was going to be huge. And when I came here and saw that there were only 4 people checking in registered voters, it felt like voter suppression. I did not like it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we did our best. We honestly did our best. And I hope that you understand that. We have been working on this for almost a month. We tried very hard to do our best. Am I right?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Nazi Al-Khalasi, Tower Terrace, Precinct 5. I'm gonna speak to you, my friends, today with facts, rules, and regs. No emotion, no passion, just facts. I've heard a previous speaker speak and said there could be 90 houses in that property. That's based on Chapter 40A. For people who don't understand the rules and regs, if somebody comes in with a 40B, which I believe these developers have backup offers to that property, they could put 600 units. I mean 600 units. And guess where's the access? Is Glen Charlie Road. And the worst part is none of you will have a say. You will never be invited here to say yes or no to this. And these are facts and rules, and you could check them. Chapter 40B. I know there's mixed emotions and all this love and the passion, and we all have this, and I understand.
30 seconds.
But today's article is not about this. Today's article, you gotta use your mind and your calculator. It's about numbers, about your pockets, because all the cost of living is gonna trickle down to town hall and it's gonna come past to you, the taxpayer. And if you don't find alternatives, projects like this, to offset the expenses we have, your taxes, believe me, it's gonna double and triple within 10 years. Thank you.
On my left?
Hi, my name is Teresa O'Neill, West Central Avenue in Onset. And I just want to say, I am pro-development. I think Wareham does need more
business to generate taxes and also things for people to do, opportunities for people to work. However, I think it's a bad idea to have a developer dictate zoning. I think that's a very bad precedent because the developer is doing what they want. And we also have in East Wareham so much property that has now been abandoned because it's moved to West Wareham. And I think, is it possible, instead of creating a whole new zoning area with needing new sewage, et cetera, can't we rezone that area of East Wareham so it can be more amenable to development, whether residential, retail, commercial, and have better, a very good plan, but it's not a plan that's dictated by the developer. Because the developer, of course, they have to put their interests first, not ours, not the town's. That said, I've also been here, I've been here for 10 years, but I've been here for
30
3
seconds.
hours. I've been here for 3 hours, and I think it's time that we voted. Thank you.
In the middle?
Hi, name's Jim Denise, Precinct 4, Cranberry Highway. At the outset of this, I asked about traffic study, and the proponent said, well, they hadn't done it and they wouldn't do it until they knew what they were going to do. I asked the town if they did a traffic study on how the impact's going to be in the area. No one has done that. I fear that an entertainment recreation district, Herod, would go away from some of our smaller businesses and towns and hurt them, because everybody's going to want to go to the new place, the happening place. Let's do this. I've also seen, I've been here 40 years, I've seen a lot of growth and development, things that were supposed to bring in additional funds because we needed them. May it be the overlay district business, may it be the shopping mall or the plazas next to it. And so I think we ought to really give it serious consideration. And if someone wants to come back and tell us what they want to do, what the plans are, what the impact on traffic is going to be, and also additionally, put in the highway. Hello? Okay. Put in the highway interchange. Let us know what the true impact is going to be. Then serious consideration to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
On my right.
Lisa Morales, I stand with 3 questions. I have a question.
Ms. Morales, your time was up.
It's quite a clarification on information we've been given.
No. On my right.
I called the question.
On my right.
Call the question.
Your time was up, Ms. Morales. On my right.
That would be your other right, Madam Moderator. My name is Zach Monty. I'm from Precinct 5. I'd like to talk to you about a couple things that haven't been brought up because I keep hearing conservation, I keep hearing commercial. What about local economy? So, we know that a 275-acre plot is up for sale right now. It's been under agreement with the developer. We all know this. But if that developer were to walk, what would happen to that property? We know it's zoned for 3-acre plots for single-family homes. Well, doesn't that generate jobs for carpenters, for electricians, for plumbers? Doesn't that generate jobs for people? Wouldn't that be good for the economy if people were able to make some money? And then they're creating brand new, beautiful homes that are taxable so the town can get revenue. Isn't that important? I just wanted to bring that up before the vote. And I would also like to call a motion for the vote. I feel like we've been here long enough, but I had to say that before we voted.
Thank you. And actually, are you finished? I don't want to interrupt you.
Yes.
Okay. I've heard now 5 or 6 people say that they are ready to vote. I want to get a sense of the meeting. All of those, like I said, I really want to be fair, but I also want to be fair to the sense of the meeting. Let me see a show of hands as to whether you think you've heard. Okay. Okay. I'm going to end all debate. We do have another meeting to get to, so I will end up all debate. We need to move on. There really is nothing new that's being said. The question now comes, there's been some discussion between voters as to holding your cards up and taking a count or secret ballot. So I just want to let you know, we are prepared either way, so that if the sense of the meeting is that you want to do a secret ballot, somebody would need to make a motion and we would take a vote on that. Okay, I don't have any motion for a secret ballot.
Okay. Let's go.
Okay, so
Counted vote.
we're going to do a counted vote. I'm going to ask my tellers to come forward. Two together. Okay. Are my tellers up ready? We're going to do this very carefully. You ready to vote? All those in favor, please raise your cards and hold them up high. Do not put them down.
Oh, my goodness.
If you're in favor of the article, of Article 1, all those in favor and support of Article 1, the zoning article.
Raise your blue card.
This will require a 2/3 vote.
I don't think that'll be a problem.
You going to take the numbers?
Huh?
I said, are you going to write down the numbers?
Oh, would you like me to?
Yeah,
I'd be happy to.
Did they look up here already? Did they look up here already?
I don't think so.
You're in a bad spot when you're getting the lawyers to do your accounting.
I think if 3 of us do it, we'll be good. Keep those cards up if you have not been counted.
What's Michelle's count? It's on now. So, I've been sending Derek a play-by-play. Peter, what's Michelle's count? Total, what's the total? How many voters are here?
It doesn't make any difference, it's the number of who vote.
No, we're just curious.
Over 1,000.
Really? Wow.
I only say that because they had to get more cards from me, and they had 1,000 that they gave, so that's what I'm basing it on.
Oh, there's throwaways.
Huh?
There's throwaways. Claire, how many chairs did they set out?
800.
Just 800?
And then they added more.
Oh, yeah.
They had another They had 700 and then they added more for 800, I think is what they did. Yeah.
Madam Moderator, on your
Yes.
left.
Yes.
What we did, and I would like to have the people on this foul line from third base to home plate back re-raise their cards because we couldn't get an accurate description to stay on both sides. We did this original section as we had discussed. Due to those numbers, I would like to confirm that they get counted properly. So anyone who is from the third base line to home plate towards the fence can reconfirm, hold their card up so we can count them properly. I apologize if there was some confusion. We couldn't get on the far side to get an accurate count.
Okay, what I would suggest then is that we start at the beginning, at your first row, to be absolutely sure that we're accurate. So all those in the section on that side, raise your hand. You're voting for the article, in favor of the article. Please raise your cards.
I have these people. Thank you.
Peter and John, start at the beginning over here, so then we actually want to get this absolutely correct. Keep your cards up, people. Don't put them down. Keep those cards up until the tellers ask you to put them down.
Listening to the Caribbean over there behind us, and I'm singing a lovely that I don't know, it's a recording. Yeah. Is that the Catholic Church or the Episcopal Church? Sure. It's Saturday, the Catholic Church will probably mass at 4.
We have 33, ma'am.
That's great, but we have to call again.
Did you count the stage? We need to count up on the stage as well.
On the stage as in your select people behind you?
Yes.
Okay. That would give us 35, ma'am.
On my left, 35. In the middle.
Madam Moderator, we have 39 approved in the middle.
In the middle, 39 in the affirmative. On my right.
Oh, hello? Okay, 67, 67.
On my right, 6, 7. All those opposed, please raise your cards. $141. Yeah, stay seated so they can see beyond you.
say in the same, going down in flames.
Keep in mind, we still have 2 more articles in the other meeting that we have to go back to, so please don't just get up and leave.
Which will probably take 5 minutes. Oh, no, two extra. Oh, we've got a third one behind us. But there's no cars over there. Yeah, well, have a herding instinct here.
So we dissolve this meeting?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would hope they would stay tight.
Well, we had 1,000 supposedly. The negatives would have to be at least 300 at a minimum, just to consider 3 to 2/3. Yeah, we're going to be 700, 800. You've got people voting with their feet already. Keep it a hell of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, just so that you understand, we do have to take account because this will go to the Attorney General's office for review, and we do have to document the count.
Yeah, but sure. What they call it now?
Have you seen any of the notice people here? Do you think they have?
You know, the one thing I forgot to do, and shame on me, is to thank the public safety group that worked with me to plan this out to make it a safe meeting. I appreciate all of their help.
That's right. This is nature of the system. Impressive turnout.
It's a big ask when they don't have any.
Yeah.
The old, trust us.
It's not just here. I don't think it works anywhere. Well, maybe way down south somewhere. We in this area have an inbred skepticism of things. So, and it was across people who've lived here. You had the lady from Tampa 2 years ago to the people who lived here forever. It's all pretty wide range. It's not just
Check one.
whole counties.
Can we finish counting?
Madam Moderator,
Yes?
on your left, 347.
On my left, 347. Do we have a count for the middle? We have a count in the middle? No?
Yes, ma'am. Go by that TV station. That red car is right there all the time, 24 hours. Not far off. You never go home. That's a company car. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, my God. That's a company car, that's why. Oh, so you're home sleeping.
Where are my tellers for the middle? Do you have the count yet? Here they come.
Huh? I don't know. She want me to? Are they gonna be barefoot, Claire?
Hmm?
Are they gonna be barefoot?
Are they gonna be barefoot?
Using their toes. Per your orders, Mrs. Moderator, we wanted to make sure it was right.
I appreciate that.
We have 201 in the negative.
201 voters in the middle. On my right.
Oh, come on. Hello? 265.
On my right, 265.
Yep.
Eight 13. Okay. The vote is 141 in the affirmative, 813 in the negative. I declare that the vote of 141 in the affirmative, 813 in the negative fails to reach a 2/3 vote. So the motion fails. I now will accept a motion to dissolve the special town meeting, and then we will go back to the, I have a motion behind me. Second? Second. Okay, the special town meeting is dissolved. We are going to go back to the special town meeting. There are 2 articles that we need to take up. Just give me 1 minute to write these numbers down.
$141 in favor, 814 against.
814?
814 out of 1064 attendees.
Okay. So let's go back to first meeting. I will reopen the special meeting. And we're going to be on Article 2. And this is to rescind Article 84 of the 2010 Fall Town Meeting. At that town meeting, a warrant article appeared to set aside some land for a specific purpose, and so now we need to go back and rescind that. May I have a motion?
Madam Moderator, I move the town vote to approve Article 2 as printed in the warrant.
Second.
I have a motion as printed in the warrant. I have a second. Is there anything to be said on the article? Yes, by the proponent.
Madam,
No, just a minute. We need the proponent.
I can speak to it.
Yep.
If you'll turn me on. Hello? Yes, this article is to undo an action of town meeting several years back. that restricted the property in such a way that the next article you're going to be voting on could not be allowed because it wouldn't allow the kind of lease, because it dedicated the land to a different purpose. So that's all this is to clear this thing out of the way so that when we come time to vote on the lease, if the vote is affirmative, then the process of seeking requests for proposals to lease the property for sports and recreation purposes could go forward.
Can I have the vote and recommendation of the Board of Selectmen?
On this one, 500.
I have the vote and recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee voted 7-0.
Thank you. Is there anything to be said by the Finance Committee?
It is a housekeeping article to allow, as the the Chairman of the Board of Selectmen has outlined, the original wording, if I may quote, was that not more than 1/3 of the 77 acres of Westfield land defined in the article, the original article, be used for affordable housing. Now, there was, it became too expensive to bring any services up to that area, and now we have a organization that is interested in utilizing that property, and with these certain or the existing conditions, where we cannot do that. So we're just making it part neutral so we can go forward.
Is there anything further to be said on Article 2 to rescind the article from 2010 Fall Town Meeting? Am I right?
Madam Moderator, Irvin Russell, Precinct 6. On the question, and now this originally was proposed to address the affordable housing situation within the town. And has there been any affirmative approach to address that specific affordable housing in the town? I mean, that makes us subject to the 40Bs developments throughout our community. And have we reached a 10% threshold, which Westfield was proposed to do to help us get to that plateau?
To answer the question, if you choose.
Yes. Hello?
You know it on.
We do all right over here, Peter.
Hey, hello?
You want to use mine?
Hello?
Yeah.
Chuck that thing.
Yes, after the 2010 vote, I know there were a couple of different attempts that requests for proposals were asked for. Nobody responded. There's no sewer out there. It's far away from the hospital. It's basically kind of out in the pucker brush, if you will, and nobody was that interested in doing an affordable project out there. With regard to the 40B, we have projects in the pipeline that will get us, I think, over 9.5%, and that would include the Woodland Cove, which has 150 units, and then also another approval was the Littleton Drive one with 93. But remember, I don't believe that those numbers count until you actually get them built. So we're still struggling to get there.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Ms. Tressel? Thank you. Is anyone to my left to speak? All set. I will now call for a vote on Article 2. This only requires a majority vote. I will try for a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? It is unanimous. Article 3.
Madam Moderator, I move that the tone vote to approve Article 3 as printed in the warrant.
Second.
I have a motion before us and a second to approve Article 3 as printed in the warrant. To speak to the article?
I don't think this one too.
Yeah. Oh, it's working. Imagine that. Yeah, once again, this relates to opening up this land and being able to enter into a long-term agreement with one of our youth sports organizations. Of course, when you submit an RFP, I suppose anybody who has a similar organization can bid. So that's why you can't mention in the article in the state procurement process who it's going to. You can't just carve out public land and do it that way. You've got to go through the request for proposals process. but it's pretty clear that we do have one sports organization in town that's really interested in it, so I would urge you to vote yes on this, and let's try to give them a permanent home.
Thank you. May I have the vote and recommendation of the Board of Selectmen?
Board of Selectmen voted 5-0-0 in favor.
I have the vote and recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee voted 7-0-0 in favor.
Recommendation?
Pardon?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything further to be said on Article 3, which is to approve? Article 3 is printed in the warrant. Don't see anybody, I don't think. Nope. Nope. Okay, this does require a 2/3 vote because it is an action of the town leasing property. I will try for a unanimous vote. All those in favor of Article 3 as printed in the warrant, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously, not counted.
Motion to dissolve.
I will now accept a motion to dissolve this meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you
Thank you.
very,
Thanks.
very much for coming today.
Thank you.